Welcome back to the poker vlog. This is episode number 209, and for this one, we're battling on the Strip in Las Vegas. We're playing a Bellagio 5-10 game, and there are a ton of big hands. You guys are gonna love it. Before we get started, a few announcements to make. The first one is that there is a link down below in the description box that you should definitely take advantage of. It's 3 free days of premium access to pokercoaching.com, and they have some of the world's best poker players as lead instructors, and there are interactive hand quizzes, which in my opinion are the most fun way to learn poker. You can take advantage of those, and you can take advantage of 30-day cash game courses and 30-day tournament preparation courses as well. With the WSOP coming up, that is perhaps a good one for you guys to take a look at. It's something that I looked at and it really helped my tournament game. I only actually got 13 or 14 days through it, but you can see that I have a lot more tournament scores over the last year or two since I looked at it than I did my previous poker career. So it really helped me out. So yeah, check out the link down below in the description box. No credit card needed, and something that's pretty sweet. Also, a handful of meetup games coming up, including Choctaw in Oklahoma. That's gonna be the first one that I do with WPT. Then I'm going out to the Lodge in Austin. We're doing a meetup game May 22nd, and I'm gonna be firing in some tournaments there as well. And then the Hustler in Los Angeles. So I have a lot more information in the description box. Hopefully I'll see you at one of those events. All right guys, let's go ahead and get started. This is my graph for the year going into the session. We're barely up. I've gotta be honest, it's been pretty rough. I was up about 7,000 3 weeks into 2022, but then lost 15,000 at the Lodge, playing in big games on stream in Texas. You can see in the graph that from about session 20 on, I've gone on a nice streak to at least recover a lot of that 15,000. I actually only have around 3,000 to go. We head over to Bellagio looking to get completely out of that hole. I had a great session the day before that you might have seen in the previous vlog, in which I won 25.70. I'll happily take another session like that. We make our way to the poker room, we'll be playing 5-10. I buy in for 1,500, that's the max. Once we sit down, we begin play at 12:21. There's no time to get settled. The very first hand of the session, we're dealt pocket aces in the hijack. I raised to 30. I don't realize that the cutoff is called while I was getting my camera set up. I think everyone is folded, and I almost turn my cards face up as I excitedly say,
literally first hand.
Luckily, I quickly realized the cutoff put chips out there and still has cards, so I try to save it to make it not seem like I was just about to show everyone that we have aces.
First hand we're getting involved.
We might have done a sufficient job. Everyone at the table probably just thinks that I'm a weirdo for being this excited about playing immediately. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes King Jack 3 with 2 clubs. I keep my streak alive, flopping an overpair or better with aces. I bet 40 for value. We have the ace of clubs, making it a lot less likely that our opponent will be on a flush draw, yet he calls anyway. He probably has 1 pair or perhaps a straight draw. The turn is the ace of hearts, giving us top set. I actually don't love seeing it because if we were up against a hand like King Queen, the opponent won't feel as comfortable putting in money with second pair, and he'll have picked up a straight draw. We also lost the lead if we're up against Queen 10. We still can't let the opponent see a free card. I bet 60. The cutoff doesn't seem to like my $60 bet. He wants the price to go up and raises to 200. We've got the second nuts and relevant card removal, making it way less probable that we're up against a flush draw or 2-pair hand. Plus, we didn't get 3-bet pre-flop like I imagined we would have by pocket kings and pocket jacks, so the main hand that I put the cutoff on is a straight with Queen 10. There's still no chance that I'm folding, but I'm not fist pumping about getting raised here. I play conservatively and call for 140 more. This pot is getting large, and the opponent only has 7-10 left in his stack. The river is the 7 of spades. We finish the hand with the second nuts. I check. The cutoff, who's an older gentleman, still likes his hand. He fires for 4-10. Ordinarily, I jam for the remaining 300 or so that the opponent has behind. Here, I really don't get the sense that I have the best hand, but I can't ever fold.
Yeah, there's not much for you to have other than the nuts here. I call.
You call nuts.
Yep. Nice hand. This is the first hand for me.
Jeez.
The cutoff has exactly what I expected. He turned the straight. If I'd shown up 2 minutes later to the table, I'd have $700 more. It's a brutal way to start the session. The very first hand, we get coolered. I add on for 700 more. The chips in that previous hand were unlucky ones anyway, and I didn't even want them. We get some new chips and pocket threes under the gun about 15 minutes later. It's certainly okay to fold small pocket pairs from early position if you're in a tough game with lots of 3-betting. Most of the time, that won't be the case. I raised to 30. The big blind is my good friend Kevin Colenso. He's been in several previous vlogs. He calls for 20 more. We're heads up in position. The flop comes 7-4-3 rainbow. We've got bottom set in a situation where we shouldn't be strong very often. The big blind checks. I'm not a big fan of slow playing, particularly when the board is coordinated. I bet 40. The big blind may have a piece. He calls. The turn is the 6 of spades, putting 4 to the straight out there. Kevin could easily have a 5. He knows it. He knows that I know it. He reps it and leads for 80. Sets haven't been good to us so far. With less than 20 minutes into the session, we lost half our stack by losing to a straight when we had a set earlier, and we may lose to another straight here. Again, we can't fold, especially for the price we're getting, when we should have at least full house outs. We call, then wish very hard for the board to pair. The dealer might be a genie. He puts out another 6. We improve to a full house in a spot where it looks like we might just have an overpair to the board. Our good buddy is never going to suspect we've got a monster. He bets a healthy 240. The issue is that he actually could have a full house himself, and every other full house is beating us. He could have comfortably led turn with a higher set, or even 2 pair that is now turned into a better full house, knowing that I'll have very few 5s as an early position pre-flop raiser. I'll really only have pocket 5 sometimes, and ace 5 suited. That's it. If I raise over a fairly large bet, my opponent is too good to call me with a hand even as good as a straight. He didn't win his 2 World Series of Poker circuit rings and 1.5 million in tournament cashes by calling a bunch of river raises. Since I don't think that we'll get called by worse, I just flat. Turns out, Kevin isn't my friend at all. He tried to bluff me with ace-queen suited while I was already stuck. What a complete lack of respect. He knows the board is theoretically better for his range than it should be for ours. In fact, based on how this hand played, it would seem that our whole cards got somehow switched. I wouldn't expect Kevin to have ace-queen, and he obviously didn't expect me to have 3s full. We're already on the comeback trail. It's nice to win this one to alleviate some of my concerns that we're going to get absolutely torched today. Just 7 minutes later, we've got queen-jack offsuit in the cutoff. I raised to 30. The small blind is a good European pro that I've battled with before. He just flats. We're heads up in position. The flop comes king 8-4 rainbow. We've got nothing except a backdoor straight draw. Small blind checks. King high flops aren't bad against the small blind's range. I bet 30, hoping the opponent will fold a small pocket pair or an ace high hand. He doesn't. He calls. Okay, perhaps he has a king or another pair or even a set. The turn is the king of diamonds. Now it's much harder for me to pretend that I have a king because there aren't that many left in the deck. The small blind checks. We could be up against trips or another hand that isn't folding. I check back to see a free river. The dealer puts out the jack of hearts, catapulting the value of our hand. The small blind checks once more. I highly doubt that he'd check a hand better than ours after we checked back the turn. It's just tough for us to get called by potentially something much worse. We'll have to go with a small sizing. I bet 40 for thin value. The opponent hates that number more than I hated when my middle school basketball coach, who I think might have been homeless, used to make us do suicides at the end of practice. The small blind puts in the check raise to 200. I'm tired of getting check raised in these spots. This is the 3rd time in recent memory that this has happened after I've checked back a turn. The first time the opponent had quad 10s, the second time was last vlog, which was a session yesterday for me, and the opponent had the ace high flush when I had trip jacks. I called in both of those instances and was wrong. You'd think I would have learned my lesson by now. Nope. When people take lines and tell stories that don't add up in my head, I can't help myself. I call for 160 more. Obviously, the opponent is no good. He has pocket 5s that he turned into a bluff. We pick him off. We show the good European pro that us Americans play with a lot of heart, and we'll call a million river check raises in spots that we probably shouldn't, if it only means that we can win just one of them for a medium-sized pot. That's right. USA! USA! Okay, I'm done now. We're only stuck 200 when we pick up king 6 suited in the big blind. Our European foe, who's actually a very nice guy, raises to 30 from middle position. We defend for 20 more. The flop comes 8-7-3 with 2 diamonds and a club. We've got 1 over and some backdoor draws. I check. We're not going to see another card without paying. The opponent bets 30. This is a situation in which I don't like giving up. Any club, 10, 9, 5, or 4 will give us a draw, and a king should give us the best hand. I prefer to mix in check raises and calls. Here we call. It's a good thing we do because the dealer puts out the king of hearts on the turn. We improve to a sneaky top pair. We check. The middle position player fires for 100, probably thinking that we know a high card is better for his range. What he doesn't know is that we drilled that high card. We call. This opponent already tried to bluff us earlier, and I've seen him bully people around plenty of times in prior sessions. Not going to work this hand. The river is the 4 of diamonds. Terrible card because the opponent might have just made a flush. I check. There's no bet from the middle position player. He must be worried another bluff attempt won't get through. He checks back. We turn over our top pair. It's surprisingly no good. The opponent has king queen of spades for a better top pair. A check raise on the flop would have worked. Instead, we both turn a hand with value. The middle position player wasn't bluffing us at all on the turn. The high card really was better for him. Some time passes before we pick up king 3 suited in the under the gun straddle. The cutoff raises to 60. It's only 40 more for us. You saw how well it went last time with the suited king. We call. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes queen 5-3 all spades. Pretty atrocious for us other than the fact that we have a pair of threes. We check. The cutoff wants to pretend as if he's got a piece of that. He bets 60 again. I'm going to have quite a few flop flushes in my range. I'll also have some sets and 2-pair hands. I'm a bit annoyed at myself for not check raising the flop in the previous hand that we went over. I make up for it, check raising here to 220. It's super important to have a backup plan in case I get caught with my hand in the cookie jar. If we get called and this somehow gets a showdown, I'll pull a veteran move and just pretend that I thought I had king deuce of spades or that my king was a queen. I've made worse mistakes in the past. The cutoff doesn't believe that we've got it. He calls. Not good. I thought that had a good chance of working out. The turn is the ace of spades. Okay, we don't want to bluff off our whole stack. We're probably up against a flush of some sort, and the ace of spades on the turn takes out a ton of the value combinations that we would have check raised with on the flop. I wave the white flag and I check. Sorry guys, we're giving up on this one. But wait, the cutoff checks back. Maybe he hates the fourth spade just as much as we do. I see a window for us to win this one. The river is another queen, giving us a fake full house if we want to represent it. I may have played it the same way up to this point with either a set of threes, queen 5 suited, or queen 3 suited, maybe even ace queen. That's a lot of full house combinations. I might have even checked turn with some king high flushes. I'm going for it. I bet 450. The opponent absolutely hates it, but really not that much. He calls. We embarrassingly turn over a pair of threes. It's not exactly a shock when we find out that they're no good. The cutoff has the perfect hand to not be afraid to call with. He has king queen offsuit with a king of spades for the highest possible flush. The cheeky bastard checked back the nuts and induced a big bluff from me to get a nice victory. The run out actually isn't that great for us to bluff on since the opponent could have had some hands like flop sets, aces, or ace queen that all improve the boats are better on the river. We lose a lot more than we needed to trying to get a fancy play through. We add on for 500 more, then pick up 6-5 diamonds in the small blind. It's another straddle pot. After it folds to me, I consider raising. Instead, I call for 15 more. The big blind calls. Under the gun raises to 100. He's kind of a nutball. I almost raised anyway. I'm kind of on tilt, and I feel like I'm due. That's a dangerous combination that leads me to calling for 80 more. The big blind folds. We're heads up out of position against a short stack whose pre-flop raise we shouldn't have called. At least the flop comes ace-7-4 rainbow. We've got an open-ended straight draw. I check. Under the gun down bets to 80. I'm certainly not folding. I raised to 500 as a semi-bluff. It's almost enough to cover the opponent, but not quite. The dude has been overly aggressive. He's not going to have an ace or better all the time. Even if he does and he calls, we'll still have up to 8 outs. The problem is that our image isn't particularly great. It wasn't that long ago when I got caught bluffing with king 3 suited. The opponent doesn't feel like he needs to have a hand even as good as an ace to get it all in. He jams for 580 total. I call for 80 more, and here's something that I don't particularly like hearing.
What? I really don't believe you. I don't have a good answer.
Oh god, how light did this guy call me? This will be another embarrassing one if we lose. The turn is another ace. We're running out of time to make a straight. The river is another 4. We completely brick it. Again, we're forced to turn over the loser.
6 high.
Nice hand, nice hand. The opponent owns my soul with queen 7 suited. He got it in against me with second pair and it was way good. The funny thing is that if his hand was face up, I probably would have done the same thing on the flop. Not only does he read me like a book, but he tells the whole table before the turn came out. He got me good there. I'm forced to go back to the well. I add on for an additional 700. I'm in for 3,400 total. I'm down 1,900 on the day after a disastrous start and several failed bluff attempts. Next we're dealt ace-king offsuit under the gun +1. I raised to 30. The hijack calls. The small blind is a new player who I don't know anything about. He 3-bet jams for $780. This is an incredibly bizarre situation. I can't remember the last time that I saw a 3-bet jam for over 25 times the size of an initial raise, at least not at these stack depths. I don't know what he's trying to accomplish. I call. I suppose that I could have folded since I didn't have much invested, but we're not in the folding mood. Maybe I'm just flipping against jacks or something. I really have no idea. If the opponent has aces or kings, he just made the best play that I've ever seen against me because I've fallen right into his trap. The hijack folds. Small blind shows that Christmas has come super early this year as he tables ace-jack offsuit. We show him that we have ace-king. It's possible that this gift that I thought he was giving us might end up being more like a lump of coal. The flop isn't a good one.
We just need a jack. There it is.
There's no justice today. The flop comes jack 10-8 with 2 spades. The opponent flops top. We have the king of spades for the backdoor flush draw, but that's not even live. We're going to need to hit either a king or a queen. The deck finally shows us some mercy as the queen of clubs comes out on the turn. We've got this all but locked up.
It's a pretty good one for me.
All right. You got me covered, right?
Yeah, black's there.
All right, you guys take care.
The opponent is some kind of magical dude like Bagger Vance or something who just shows up for a little while with the perfect instance to help out in a time of need. No one has seen that guy before or since. He does an amazing job to get us back on the right track. All of a sudden, we're only down a manageable 1200. 15 minutes later, we've got ace-king again. Here we're in the small blind. Under the gun +1 raises to 30. The cutoff heats things up with a 3-bet to 90. She's the female pro who I battled with a few times in the last episode. Our hand is likely best. We don't want to flat and play a big pot multi-way out of position. I put in the cold 4-bet to 350. Under the gun +1 folds. I'm glad to see him gone since it's very possible he could have had a strong hand after opening from early position. We're not out of the woods yet as the cutoff calls the 4-bet for 260 more. I put her on pretty much only premium hands. She could even have aces. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes king queen 9 rainbow. Kings and queens could definitely be in her range. Ace king seems like a very likely hand as well. I check for pot control and to get more information from the opponent. She makes a small bet of 250. I wouldn't be surprised to see her do this with something like ace queen suited or pocket jacks, just to take a stab and gain control of the pot or see how I respond. I call. She could also be doing this with something much stronger, so I don't gain too much information here. The turn is the 6 of diamonds, putting 2 diamonds on the board. I check. I don't really want to face a big bet. Luckily, the opponent checks back. This is a key point in the hand because I now know that we're up against a 1-pair hand at best. It could be jacks or 10s, it could be ace queen or ace king, and there's a tiny chance that it's aces, but she wouldn't allow a free card to come off with a straight, set, or king queen. The river is the deuce of clubs, it's as blank as it gets. I'm in a unique position. I don't think that a value bet of mine will get called by ace queen, jacks, or 10s. Of the hands I'm beating, those are by far the most likely ones that will have played the same way up to this point. Since worse hands won't call a bet, and I've already ruled out us being up against a 2-pair better hand, I need to determine what we should do against ace king, which is in my mind the most probable hand that the cutoff has. We need to get her off of a chop. There's almost 1300 in the middle. My opponent has 1200 left in her stack. Let's put her to the ultimate test. We rip it in with top, hoping for a fold. Even in the off chance that she has aces, she's going to hate facing this jam. We get over the first hurdle as the opponent doesn't snap call. It seems that we've correctly narrowed down her range to a 1-pair hand. I'm about as comfortable as I could be because I'm likely either chopping this or I'm stealing it. In other words, I'm pre-rolling a huge bluff attempt. As more time elapses, it's increasingly probable that we're up against exactly ace-king. A minute goes by, still, the opponent isn't getting much closer to a decision. A full minute and a half after announcing that I'm all in, the cutoff finally folds her hand. She's a cool girl. I let her know what we had and what our intention was with our bet.
Just trying to get you off a chop.
She doesn't ever tell us what she had. I wouldn't expect her to. It stays silent. There's not much else that she could have had that she'd play the same way and tank fold. With this win, we're within one large pot of being unstuck after battling hard in the trenches. Unfortunately, we go almost 2.5 hours of being card dead before we're dealt ace-queen offsuit under the gun +1. I raised to 30. There's a newer player in the cutoff. He's kind of a wild guy. He calls. Small blind calls. We're going 3 ways to the flop. It comes king queen 9 rainbow. The small blind checks. With several high cards out there, this is a board that's decent for us. We bet 50. The cutoff isn't letting us have it. He calls. The small blind folds. It's down to heads up. We want to get the showdown as cheaply as possible from this point on. The turn is the 3 of spades, putting a flush draw out there. I check. The cutoff bet's 130. I'm not convinced that he has us beat. He does some wacky things, and maybe he's taking a stab at it with something like Jack 9 suited, now that I've slowed down and shown some weakness. I call to see a river. The dealer puts out the 6 of spades, completing the backdoor flush draw. I check. I'm happy to see the opponent check back. We turn over ace queen. It should occasionally be the winner. This isn't one of those times. The cutoff flopped the straight with Jack 10 offsuit. He must have been really concerned about the backdoor flush to check back a hand that strong. I haven't run well and haven't played very well. It's not my day. After about 6 hours, it's time to call it. Played for about 6 hours today. It was definitely a different feel to the session than yesterday. Yesterday I ran about as good as possible. Today, immediately get coolered with a set of aces versus the straight. So I was happy that I didn't lose more in that one. And I was pretty good with how I played for a lot of the session. That up until, you know, I started getting bored with the king 3 suited and turned that one into a bluff. Perhaps could have done something different with the 6-5 of diamonds hand, and you know, a couple other things like that. But yeah, hopefully I'll just kind of reel it in. Over the last 2 days, I've still netted 1,500, so good 2 days. Can't run good every day, I suppose.
One day losing 1,200 isn't so bad. The problem is that this is the start of a mini downswing within a bigger downswing that I'm still trying to recover from. The next several sessions I don't film, but I lose 130 at Bellagio while playing there for only 20 minutes before the game breaks. Then I head to Aria the same day and lose 610. After that, I run unbelievably bad and lose 4,000 in another 5-10 session at Bellagio. About half of that came in a hand when the straddle was up to 160. The other big chunk came in a hand that I got into against Jamin Burton. He flopped a set against my top on a draw heavy board. He got me good in a $3,000 pot. He wasn't filming that day either, so happy to give him some credit and a shout out here. Following that session, I lost 590 while playing for a little less than an hour at Red Rock before heading to Aria where I'd lose an additional 200. Altogether, I'd lose 6 consecutive sessions. That's the most sessions I think I've ever lost in a row. 2 of those were under an hour long, so they don't mean a ton. The total I lost over that time was 6,000, so it isn't even close to the biggest downswing that I've been on, but it's frustrating because halfway through April, I'm back down a few thousand for the year. The thing I have to remember is that it's all one long session. I ran extremely hot for basically all of 2021. Here's the graph since January of last year. I expected to have some rough times. I'm still up 62,000 since then. I'm playing much larger games and the swings will be bigger, and the next trip that I take is in Texas, where, spoiler alert, I destroy everyone to have the best week of poker in my life. Be sure to tune in to the next few vlogs because they're going to be fun.
That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons. I've looked at the analytics and I know a lot of you guys haven't subscribed, and it really does help out the channel, so please do that. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'm happy to get back to you. This was, yeah, just a rough session. Didn't start out well, and I didn't play particularly well. I won some big hands here and there, but couldn't get out of the hole, and then ended up going on a mini downswing, and 2022 just, it didn't get off to a good start at all. And 2021 went great, pretty much didn't have any huge speed bumps at any part in the year that I wasn't able to overcome, and ran really well, and knew it had to end. But the next videos I run really well again and kind of get 2022 back on track. So very excited to share those with you guys, and I'm catching up. So you know, it's not like there's 7 weeks between when I filmed a session and when the video comes out anymore. But a handful of meetup games coming up. I'm gonna be going out to Choctaw May 10th through the 16th for the WPT series that's going on out there. There's gonna be a meetup game May 12th, my first one with WPT. That's gonna be a blast. There is a giveaway going on. I have more information in the description box below around that event and around the giveaway. And then from there, I'm gonna be going to the tail end of the Lodge Championship Series at the Lodge in Austin. I'll be there from May 16th through the 23rd, and we're doing a meetup game May 22nd with Doug, Andrew, and me. And then Andrew and I are going out to the Hustler in Los Angeles at the beginning of June. I believe it's June 4th and 5th, but check the details in the description box below to confirm. All right, guys, hope you're all doing well. Hope you're staying safe. Good luck at the tables, and I'll see you next time.